Mum slid the folded napkin across the dinner table while my boyfriend was asking Dad for permission to marry me. I opened it and read "Pretend you're sick and leave now" in Mum's shaky handwriting. I looked up at her panicked face, then heard my boyfriend say the words that would change everything. "I'm Emma Phoenix, and I'm 28 years old. 6 months ago, I thought I knew my family. I was a pediatric nurse who worked long shifts at the children's hospital. I'd been dating Jake for 3 years. We had Sunday dinners at my parents' house every week. I called Mum twice a week and never missed holidays. I wasn't the rebellious daughter or the one who caused drama. I was the good girl who brought flowers and helped with dishes. If you've ever discovered your family had secrets they kept from you, subscribe right now and drop your location in the comments below." I read every single one, and trust me, you'll want to hear how this ends. Because what I found out that night didn't just break my heart. It made me question everything I thought I knew about the people who raised me. But sometimes being the quiet one means you see things others miss. And what I saw that Sunday evening would turn my world upside down. It was supposed to be a perfect night. Jake had been fidgeting all week. He kept patting his jacket pocket like something precious was hidden there. I knew he was planning to propose. We'd talked about marriage. We'd looked at apartments together. My parents loved him. Or so I thought. Mum had made Jake's favourite pot roast. Dad was wearing his good shirt, the one he saved for church and special occasions. The smell of rosemary and garlic filled the dining room. Jake cleared his throat and stood up. "Mr. and Mrs. Collins," he said, his voice shaking, "I have something important to ask you." That's when Mum's napkin slid across the table. Her fingers were trembling. Her face had gone completely white. I glanced at the note again. "Trust me. Don't let him ask. I'll explain later." I looked from Mum's terrified expression to Jake's hopeful smile. He was already getting down on one knee. The ring box was in his hands, a small velvet square that caught the light from the chandelier. "Emma Collins," Jake said. "Will you marry me?" The silence stretched like a pulled rubber band. Dad's fork clattered against his plate. Mum's breath came in short gasps. But Jake was looking at me with those brown eyes I'd fallen in love with 3 years ago. I ignored the note. I said yes. Jake slipped the ring onto my finger. It was beautiful, a simple solitaire that sparkled under the dining room lights. But when I looked up, my parents weren't smiling. Dad had pushed his chair back from the table. Mum was gripping her water glass so tight her knuckles had turned white. "Congratulations," Dad said, but his voice sounded hollow. After Jake left that night, promising to call me in the morning to start planning, Mum burst into tears. Dad disappeared into his study and locked the door. I found Mum at the kitchen sink, her shoulders shaking. "Mum, what's wrong?" I asked. She turned around, mascara running down her cheeks. "Emma, we need to talk." That's when Mum told me the truth about Jake that would shatter everything I believed about my life. The next morning, my parents called an emergency family meeting. We sat around the same dining room table where Jake had proposed 12 hours earlier. Dad had a manila folder in front of him. His face looked older, like he'd aged years overnight. "Emma," Dad said, "we've been investigating Jake." I laughed. It sounded bitter even to me. "Investigating? What are you, the FBI?" 20 years in military intelligence," Dad said quietly. "Old habits." Mum reached across the table and touched my hand. "His real name isn't Jake Thompson. It's Jason Mitchell." They opened the folder. Inside were photos of Jake with other women. Different cities, different dates. But the same smile, the same charm, the same ring. "He targets women from military families," Dad explained. "Especially families with benefits, disability payments, inheritance." There were police reports, background checks. A whole life I'd never known about. Jake had been married twice before, both times to women whose fathers were veterans. Both marriages had ended with drained bank accounts and broken hearts. "You're wrong," I said. Standing up so fast my chair fell backward. "Jake loves me." "Emma," Mum said gently, "he's been asking questions about Dad's disability payments, about your inheritance from Grandma and Grandpa, about our house value." I thought about all those casual conversations. Jake asking about Dad's retirement. Jake wondering about family money. Jake suggesting we should plan our financial future together. My chest felt tight. "You're being paranoid." I drove straight to Jake's apartment. He was making coffee in his small kitchen, humming some song I didn't recognize. When he saw me, his face lit up. "Good morning, fiancé," he said, kissing my forehead. "My parents think you're a con man," I said. Jake's smile flickered. Just for a second, then it was back, bright and reassuring. "What?" He laughed, but it sounded forced. "That's crazy. Why would they think that?" "They say your real name is Jason Mitchell." "Emma, that's ridiculous. Your parents are just protective. They don't want to lose their little girl." But then Jake started asking questions. Strange questions. "What kind of disability payments does your dad get? Like monthly amounts? How much is your inheritance worth exactly? When do you think we should combine our bank accounts?" Each question felt like a small betrayal. I started seeing things differently. Jake had never talked much about his past. He'd said his parents were dead, that he had no siblings. He worked in sales, but was always vague about what he actually sold. The worst part came 3 days later. I was at Jake's apartment, waiting for him to get out of the shower. His phone buzzed on the counter. A text message from someone named Sarah. "Hey Jason, how's it going with the nurse? Is her military dad worth the trouble?" My hands shook as I scrolled through more messages. "Remember, get her to sign the banking papers before the wedding. Once you're married, you can access everything. The VA benefits, the inheritance, all of it. Don't screw this up like you did with Rebecca in Phoenix." I screenshotted everything. My nursing training had taught me to document everything important. Trust but verify, Dad always said. That afternoon, I confronted Jake at his work. He sold insurance at a small office downtown. I walked in during lunch break, my phone full of evidence. "Who's Sarah?" I asked. Jake's face went pale. "What are you talking about?" "Jason." He actually stepped backward. "Emma, I can explain." But his coworker Mike overheard. "Oh, you told her about Sarah? Dude, I thought you were keeping the side chick secret." "Side chick," I said. Mike kept talking, oblivious to the bomb he was dropping. "Jake's always talking about how desperate you are to get married. Says your family's his retirement plan." The room spun. 3 years of "I love you." 3 years of planning our future. 3 years of believing someone actually wanted to spend their life with me. All of it was a lie. That night, I called my parents. "You were right," I said. "I'm sorry." But what Jake didn't know was that being a pediatric nurse taught me to spot when someone was lying to protect themselves. I'd spent years reading body language, watching for signs that children were hiding abuse or fear. I knew how to document evidence. I knew how to build a case. And Dad's 20 years in military intelligence had taught me something else. Trust but verify, keep records, always have proof. I started gathering everything. Screenshots of the text messages, photos of the fake IDs I'd found in Jake's wallet, recordings of our conversations where he asked about family finances. I even took pictures of him going through Dad's VA paperwork when he thought I wasn't looking. I reached out to Dad's old military buddy, Tom, who ran a private investigation firm. Within a week, Tom had Jake's complete criminal history. 3 previous victims, outstanding warrants in 2 states, a pattern of targeting military families across the Southwest. The crazy part was, I had more money than Jake realized. Grandma and Grandpa had left me a trust fund that I barely touched. My nursing salary was good. I owned my own car, had my own savings account. Jake was chasing money that he thought I had, while ignoring the financial independence I'd actually built. They thought I'd be the heartbroken victim who'd crawl back begging for forgiveness. I told Tom during one of our meetings, but I wasn't done being surprised. I decided to let Jake think he was winning while I built an airtight case against him. I agreed to fast wedding planning. I smiled when he suggested combining bank accounts. I played the part of the naive girl who believed his every word. But I was also making phone calls to someone who understood exactly what I was going through. My coworker Sarah at the hospital pulled me aside one day, not the Sarah from Jake's phone, a different Sarah who worked in pediatric oncology. "Emma," she said, "I need to tell you something about your fiancé." Sarah's sister lived in Arizona. 3 years ago, she'd been engaged to a man named David Chen, who looked exactly like Jake. Same story, same lies, same targeting of military families. "My sister almost lost everything," Sarah said. "Her dad was a Marine veteran. This guy drained their accounts and disappeared. Tom's investigation confirmed it. Jake Thompson, Jason Mitchell, David Chen, same man, different names, different cities. A professional con artist who specialized in military families. My parents and I started working together. We planned carefully. We gathered evidence while pretending everything was normal. Jake got more confident every day. He started pushing harder about the wedding date, about financial planning, about getting access to family accounts. "We should get married next month," Jake said one evening. "Why wait?" "That sounds perfect," I said, while secretly recording every word. Jake even had the nerve to ask me to sign some papers for insurance purposes. When I looked at them later with Tom, they were documents that would give Jake access to my bank accounts, my inheritance, even my parents' house. I connected with Jake's previous victims through Tom's investigation. 3 women, 3 broken hearts, 3 families who'd lost their savings. We built a network of evidence and witnesses. Each woman had the same story. Jake had used the same lines, the same fake background, even the same engagement ring. "He thought he had me exactly where he wanted me," I told Tom during our final planning meeting. "He had no idea I'd been 3 steps ahead for weeks." We planned the confrontation for our engagement party. I invited everyone: Jake's co-workers, my friends from the hospital, all our family members. Jake arrived that Saturday evening wearing his best suit, ready to charm everyone and probably scope out new targets. The dining room was decorated with flowers and balloons. I'd set up a laptop and projector, telling everyone I wanted to share some special memories. "Before we celebrate," I announced, "I have a special surprise, a presentation about getting to know the real Jake." Jake was still smiling when the first slide appeared, his driver's license photo next to a police mugshot. Same face, different name. "Jake Thompson," I said, looking directly at him. "Or should I call you Jason Mitchell? Or maybe David Chen from the Arizona con?" His smile disappeared. The next slide showed photos from his previous victims. Jake with 3 different women, wearing the same expression, holding the same ring. "This is Sarah from Phoenix," I said, as her face appeared on video call. "She'd like to tell everyone about her engagement to David Chen." Jake tried to interrupt. "Emma, this is crazy. You're embarrassing yourself." But I kept going. Audio recordings of Jake talking about my family's money, screenshots of his text messages calling me an easy mark and planning to drain our accounts after marriage. "I've documented everything," I said, "including you researching Dad's disability benefits, photographing my inheritance papers, and even going through our family financial documents." Dad stood up. 20 years in military intelligence taught me to track people across state lines. Jake here has warrants in Nevada and California. That's when Jake's mask finally came off. The charming boyfriend disappeared. In his place was someone angry and desperate. "You stupid girl," he snarled. "You don't know what you're throwing away. I could have given you everything." "Everything you stole from other people," I replied. The doorbell rang. I'd coordinated the timing perfectly. 2 police officers entered the dining room as 30 witnesses watched. "Jason Mitchell," one officer said, "you're under arrest." As they handcuffed him, I walked over and handed Jake the engagement ring. "This belongs to someone who actually loved me," I said. "You can keep it in prison." Jake screamed as they led him away. "You ruined everything! You don't know what you lost!" I watched through the window as the police car pulled away. "I know exactly what I lost," I said to my parents. "My ability to trust blindly, and exactly what I gained. My family's respect." The guests at the party stayed for hours. Everyone wanted to tell me how proud they were, how strong I'd been, how smart I was to figure it out. My relationship with my parents was stronger than ever. They'd been trying to protect me while still respecting my independence. The experience changed me as a nurse too. I got better at recognizing signs of manipulation in my pediatric patients' families. I could spot the warning signs of abuse, the red flags of someone lying to protect themselves. Jake was sentenced to 5 years in prison. I helped his other victims get justice. 2 of them recovered some of their stolen money. All of us felt proud that we'd stood up for ourselves and each other. For the first time in months, I slept peacefully, not because the threat was gone, but because I knew I could handle whatever came next. I understood the difference between love and manipulation. I felt grateful for my parents' wisdom and my own strength. They thought they were protecting a naive girl. Instead, they helped raise a woman who could protect herself. If you've ever been manipulated by someone you trusted, or if your family tried to warn you about someone toxic, I want to hear from you. Drop your location in the comments and tell me. Have you ever ignored red flags because you wanted love to be real? Share your story below because someone else might need to hear that they're not alone and they're not stupid for being trusting. Hit that subscribe button if you believe in protecting each other from predators who target good people. Remember, trusting your gut doesn't make you paranoid. It makes you smart. Right now, you can see 2 more videos on your screen. Don't miss them. Both carry stories that will stay with you.